year ago as opposed to some of the things he's done this year?
Yeah, I think it's important that he gives us some plays with his feet. There's no question. It's been a really interesting study of the zone read play since we started it, 10 years ago in defense, I guess, and the way people are playing it. A lot of times people say, well, you didn't run the zone read. Well, we did, but the read said in. Because they think of the pull. And people have not given us as many pulls from Cole the last 2 years as they have in the past. Having said that, there's still some things that he's going to have to be able to do. Whether or not it was quarterback draws, whether or not it's quarterback counters, you've got to do a few things that give them a little different look to be able to stay with the running game.
Were you surprised when you studied Alabama? Were you surprised at what they were able to do with Tebow in Florida?
I was, and I think part of the reason, as I was just talking to someone else, part of the reason is that the game jumped Alabama's way early. And when a game jumps away from you early, it's hard to get back, especially if you play on a quality opponent. So all of a sudden the game's 19-3 or whatever it was, and Florida's throwing the ball, and now it's halftime, and all of a sudden it just gets away sometimes. So it wasn't just what they did to stop Tebow in the run game. Their offense made Florida. The Alabama offense made Florida have to really think about, all right, how many times can we run the ball with the score being the way it is.
What percentage of your playbook would you say you utilized in game scenarios this season? If you had, you're good on percentages, blitz percentages, and everything else.
Yeah.
Based on your playbook, based on what you could send onto the field, what percentage of the plays do you think you use this year?
Oh, probably 75%. Would be somewhere in that view. What happens is each quarterback, each team, there's certain things. Colt was asking me the other day, we have one play we call tree 8 spots. Probably ran it 40 times last year, probably run it 4 times this year. I said, Coach, what? Well, Quan Cosby was the big part of that call. So with Quan, that was a huge part of what we did. And the same thing, each year you're trying to tweak, so you're not ever going to get the whole book on any given year because you're trying to take the book and focus on the players.
So we could see a play we haven't seen all year.
Oh, you will. You will. We've done some things during the time off that will be a little different. At the same time, you're trying to do things that fit your philosophy with your kids. But yeah, there's some things in this ball game that we will do that have been there for a while, but we haven't done this year.
Coach, would you say after the Nebraska game and once it was decided that Texas and Alabama were going to play, people started talking about Terrence Cody and Ndamukong Suh. And immediately people say, oh, they're so different. They're completely different players. Are they completely different players? What kind of similarities do you see between those two guys?
Well, I think they're different, or people say they're different, because it's very unusual for a defensive tackle to lead your team in tackles. And Suh's done it twice, so it wasn't a mistake. What they asked him to do and what they allow him to do is a little bit different than what Cody does. Cody will be a great pro player, in my opinion. He is extremely hard to move. You see a lot of times where an offensive lineman, in offensive terms, he's covered up. And all of a sudden, the ball carrier gets close, and he is uncovered. That offensive lineman has been discarded, and Cody is making the play. Where Suh may have penetrated, and that guy was gone. They're just different styles. I think what is common is that they are both extremely strong, and I think they both play double teams extremely well.
When you see a guy like Cody, who's a run-stuffing tackle, does it limit you guys have so many great running backs, does it limit which ones you can use? Because Cody's obviously more of a between the tackles runner, and then you've got guys like Trey and Fozzie who like to get out into space. Does it make you kind of have less stuff you can use with Cody?
Yeah, I think you have to be aware of what's happening inside. And some of our guys are a little bit more perimeter guys than others, so yes.
Did the game against Nebraska, which was the first game where there was really a lot of pressure on Colt throughout the game, does that kind of let your offense know how important it is to protect Colt and to keep the pass rush off?
Yeah, I don't think they had that game. I think they knew
they didn't need it.
Game. But if they did need it, yes, that game will show you.
Well, Colt talked about that nobody likes to go through adversity when they're going through it, but they feel like that game they learned a lot from. Do you feel that same way?
I do. And I think it's important to understand that we were able to win a game against a quality opponent and not play well. Because you get so wrapped up, especially in games like this, that the kids think you have to play perfect. They're not going to. And you can still win as long as you just hang in there.
You know Colt as well as anybody, and one of the things he was talking about over there was when he was a freshman, he came into your office and said he's going to be the best quarterback you've coached. Do you feel like he's gotten to that point, or do you think he's getting to that point?
Yeah, I told someone the other day, he was saying that, and I'm looking across at Pee Wee Herman. He's probably the best I've ever had. He's got the unbelievable toughness and all the intangibles, and I've been blessed to have some really good ones, but he's certainly, if he's not the best, he walks among the best.
Last question. In 05, when Vince did not win the Heisman, he kind of walked around with that chip on his shoulder, and he thought he should have won. A lot of people thought he should have won, and the vote wasn't even really that close, but Vince in his mind and in a lot of our minds thought he should have won the Heisman. He took that into the Rose Bowl game, and he carried that with him throughout that game. He said he did. Do you think Colt will do the same thing, and do you see Colt having that same sort of chip on his shoulder about it?
Well, I think Colt realizes he didn't win the Heisman, and he's a different mentality than Vince. But I think you would be less than human if you didn't want to go out and play with him and show the world. I got to